to just experience this amazing art with us tonight. I'm really excited to have you all here, and thank you so much for your generous donations. It goes to make a wonderful change in our community, and so we really appreciate that. Before we get started, I'd like to make just a few quick requests of you, and that is, the first thing is just silence or turn off any cell phones or electronic devices. And then secondly, we'd like to, if you feel compelled to applaud, please hold it until the end. We just kind of want to preserve the continuity of our program. So thank you again all so much for being here, and enjoy Patchwork.
But I've kept my vow of chastity, and I made my pilgrimage to Lord. My job is to ease the way for people who are dying. I've been doing this for a few years now, and I work mostly here at St. Vincent's. During the day, I have a boring secretarial job which pays for my career as a saint. I was much more idealistic when I started. I had just left the convent and, I thought that, I guess, working with people who were dying would give me spiritual gold stars. I wanted to impart my great wisdom on those who needed improvement, or, take part in dramatic deathbed conversions and see light emanating down from heaven, or multicolored auras over the heads of people in the process of expiring. I thought that they would go out expressing their gratitude for all that I had done. Quick joke. Have you heard about the man who lost his left side? He's all right now. Laugh, it's funny. He's all right now. We tell a lot of jokes in my line of work.
16 pills in the morning, 14 pills at night, 30 pills each day combined, in magic ways still undefined. Give me an ordinary life. They can be shaped like a diamond or a depth charge, hieroglyphs and runes inscribed, in the colors bright like evergreen, and robin's egg and tangerine. My recipe for ordinary life. An ordinary morning, in gratitude or gloom, you were still sleeping in the other room. I took my pills and bottles down, sat on the floor, and circled them around me. Soon and without warning, I was reciting all their names. Raltegravir, Efavirenz, Zidovudin, Moraviroc, a pharmaceutical rosary, quite ad hoc. Soon and without warning, I was reciting all their names and begging for the blessings they convey, to let me stay with you forever, to let us both grow old together, until I die in some ordinary way.
You know that you were my first love. My only love, unless you count you then and you now. But then you'd have to count me then and me now as well. So I guess only still goes. I used to tiptoe around your life, keeping to the sides, covering my tracks, remaining quiet and hidden, and was quite happy. They were different times. Is it enough to say that they were different times? I mean, I had a life. You had a life. We had a life. I lived in my world. You lived in your world, and we shared a bed. We had great sex, but argued politics. To be or not to be in the closet. Separatism, legalization, legislation. And politics were argued. Sex was great. Different times. We were certainly happier then. And we loved each other. We said what we could when we could, and our fear was for them that would not let us be. Our anger was for them that would not let us be. Our comfort was with each other. Not so different, but different enough. When I think of you then, I see a man in my bed waiting. No expectations or demands, just a man waiting to be with another man where he was happy and belonged. A nervous smile, an unassuming pose, patient, excited, warm, and delicious. And we were together without question there, in that moment together. And we soared. And sex was unimportant, like air and water. There was no list of do's and don'ts, no death count. The worst thing you could get from loving was a broken heart, which you gave me, and I lived. Remember herpes? Remember crabs? Remember about worrying about the clap? And we were invisible. Nobody knew exactly who we were. We were the great, new, mysterious, chic underground. And I loved every minute of it.
Sing no sad, sweet songs of sorrow.
I've been wondering, what happens after I die? Do you think things go on and on? I don't know. Is this all the time I have left? I hope not. Do you think that anywhere out there is a place as sweet as this one? I like it here. Even though right now I'm going through a lot of difficulty. And if we get to come back, where do we get to come back to? I don't feature leaving here and going to some goddamned naphtha swamp in the middle of the Z sector of some provincial galaxy just to live life as some weird insect. But if life is some kind of educational process in which each piece of the galaxy and the universe gets to discover its own true divine nature, if it is, then a methane bog on Jupiter might serve just as well as a meadow in the Berkshires. I want to be cremated. And I want my ashes to fertilize the apple tree in the middle of Jake's pasture. When you take a bite of that apple from that tree, think of me. I wish I knew what you were thinking. I think it would make this easier.
You know almost nothing about me, and I only know what Andre told me about you. I used to think that we would be friends, you and me. But if you didn't know about Andre and me, if none of this had ever happened, I wonder if he would have ever told you. When he got so sick, if I asked him once, I asked him 1,000 times, tell her, she's your mother, she won't mind, but he was so afraid of hurting you, of your disapproval. I don't know which is worse. God, how many of us live in this city because we don't want to hurt our mothers? We live in mortal terror of their disapproval. Our feelings aren't furtive, just how we are to people like you. A city of fugitives on the run from our parents' scorn or disapproval. You know, sometimes he'd seem a little down, and I'd say, "What's the matter, babe?" He'd look at me with this sad, kind of funny little smile. He'd say, "Just a little homesick, Cal, that's all." I used to accuse him of being a big country bumpkin playing at being a hotshot, sophisticated New Yorker. It's bullshit. It's all bullshit. Do you know that comic strip, Little Lulu? The mother in it, she had no name. She was so remote, so formidable to all the children in her remoteness, that she was just Lulu's mother. "Hello, little Lulu's mother," all the little children would say. "You remind me of her." Andre's mother. Let me answer the questions that you can't ask. Andre died of AIDS. I don't know how he got it. I tested negative. He died bravely. You would have been proud of him. The only thing that ever frightened him was you. I'll have everything that was his sent to you. There isn't much. I'll pay for it. You know, the summer he played Hamlet, you should have come upstate. He was magnificent. So yes, I'm bitter. I'm bitter this is happening. I'm bitter that I've lost him. And I'm bitter that after all of this, I can't reach you. Sorry, old friend. I blew it. Goodbye, Andre's mother.
Took my son, left me an image that never goes away. Plague took my lover, my friend, my mother, left me an image that never goes away.
new AIDS patient, Richard. He's still in a lot of denial about his condition, which is normal. I think that most of us would go a little crazy if we had to face our deaths square on. He's a wonderful man. He writes incredibly funny poems about the ward, and his lover is there all the time. You know, he gets a lot of visitors, actually. It's only his second time in the hospital, and usually, at first, they have lots of visitors, but as the illness progresses, people visit less and less, and they're left with only me. But, you know, I don't think that's going to happen in this case. Gosh, you should see the way his lover takes care of him. God forbid they treat Rich badly because Saul swoops in and lets them have it. God, he is making a real pain in the ass of himself, and, well, that's what you have to do in this situation. You know, sometimes I think, I'm an atheist. Well, no, not really. It's more like I'm angry. Yes, angry. It's more like I'm angry with God. I mean, how could he let this happen? I have a lot of denial. I bargain with God. I have a long way to go before I reach acceptance. But what would I do if I didn't come to St. Vincent's every day? You know, it is a privilege to work with people who are dying. Because sometimes they just say the most incredible things. Like, Jean-Jacques is a patient, and the other day he told me that what he misses most when he's in the hospital are his corset and high heels. I mean, the man barely weighs 90 pounds, and he's half dead, but oh gosh, I really admire his spirit. But the way they treat him. Sometimes they won't even bring his food to his bed. And I'm scared to say anything because I worry that they'll take it out on him. But last night, I painted his nails flaming red